Jordan Belfort. You know the name, you've probably seen the movie, you definitely know the story of the Wolf of Wall Street. But what you might not know is that behind all that Hollywood chaos, there's a system, a method of persuasion he claims is so powerful it can turn literally anyone into a world-class closer. So today we're going to pull back the curtain and really deconstruct that very system.
You gotta hand it to him. The man does not lack for confidence, right? I mean, the certainty in that statement is just wow. He's not just saying he's good at this stuff. He's calling it a literal superpower, saying that nobody else on Earth can even touch him.
And that's the big question for us today, isn't it? Is this all just some inflated sales pitch, or is there a real, repeatable formula behind the legend? We are going to find out exactly what the straight line system is and how it works.
Okay, so let's rewind the clock. This all started back in the spring of 1988, inside his infamous brokerage firm, Strattonite. He calls it the straight line, and he truly believes it's the code he cracked from mastering human influence. Now, this is a really key point, because while it was born in the pressure cooker of Wall Street, Belfort says he later spent 2 years re-engineering the whole thing to be grounded in ethics and integrity. The idea was to create a universal tool for persuasion that you could use in any field, real estate, law, whatever. The goal wasn't manipulation, it was about empowered, effective communication. So where did this all come from? Well, like a lot of great inventions, it was born out of a massive business-killing problem. Let's set the scene back at the original Strattonite.
You see, Belfort and his partner, they were absolute masters at selling penny stocks to regular, everyday people. But they knew the real money, the serious money, was with wealthy, sophisticated investors. So they shifted their whole focus. And his team of young, hungry salespeople, the Strattonites, they immediately hit a brick wall. I mean, they went from making thousands a month to making absolutely nothing. And you can just feel the desperation in this quote. It comes from a sales meeting where Belfort was trying to figure out what was going so wrong. His team wasn't just struggling a little bit, they were getting totally crushed, and morale had just hit rock bottom. 0. That was their closing rate. For every 200 calls they made to these new wealthy leads, they were closing exactly 0 new accounts, not one. The failure was absolute, and the company was literally on the brink of collapse. This wasn't just a slump, it was a full-blown catastrophe.
These were the dream killers. You know them, the classic brush-offs that his team just had no answer for. And it was right there, in a superheated, frustrating meeting with these exact objections scrawled on a whiteboard, that Belfort had his big breakthrough. In that moment of total desperation, just staring at that whiteboard, something clicked. Belfort had a complete eureka moment, an idea that was going to change everything for him and his company. And then it just hit him. It doesn't matter what you're selling, stocks, cars, software, whatever. It doesn't matter who you're talking to, a CEO or a stay-at-home parent. Underneath it all, the fundamental structure of a successful sale is always the same. This is the image that flashed into his mind. A perfect, clean, straight line. This line represents the ideal path of a sale, from the very second you open your mouth to the moment you close the deal. It's efficient, it's direct, and it's completely controlled. So here's the system in a nutshell. As the salesperson, your one job is to keep the conversation on that straight line. Now, the prospect will always try to pull you off course, right? They'll want to talk about the weather, their weekend, anything. The system teaches you how to handle that. Gather the info you need, build that rapport, and then gracefully guide the conversation right back onto that line, moving steadily towards the close. You are in control.
All right, so you've got the map, the straight line, but the journey always begins with a single step. And according to Belfort, that entire journey is either won or lost in the first 4 seconds. In literally the blink of an eye, your prospect's brain makes 3 snap judgments about you. 1, are you smart? 2, are you passionate? And 3, are you an authority figure they should actually listen to? If you fail on any of these 3 things right at the start, you're going to spend the entire rest of the conversation just trying to recover. So, why so fast? Well, Belfort explains this with a pretty cool caveman brain analogy. Our ancient reptilian brain is wired for one thing: survival. It makes these incredibly fast instinctual judgments: friend or foe, threat or opportunity. It's only after that gut check that our logical brain kicks in to analyze the details. You have to win over that instinct first. And the stakes here are just incredibly high. Get this, a Harvard study found that if you make a negative first impression, it takes, on average, 8 subsequent positive encounters just to undo that initial damage.
In the world of sales or business, you almost never get 8 more chances. You get one. That's it.
Okay, so you've got the system, and you know you have to make a huge impact in just 4 seconds. But what if you're just not feeling it that day? You know? That brings us to the final and maybe the most important piece of the whole puzzle: state management.
Think of it this way. All your skills, your confidence, your charisma, they're all resources you already have inside you. Your emotional state is like the valve that controls your access to them. If you're in a state of fear or uncertainty, that valve is slammed shut. You can't get to your best self. State management is about learning how to open that valve on command.
These are what Belfort calls the 4 C's, and he argues that to be successful in any high-stakes environment, you have to be able to tap into these 4 key emotional states whenever you need them. They are the essential fuel for the straight-line system.
So how do you actually do this? Well, Belfort makes it super practical with an NLP technique called anchoring. The process is pretty simple. First, you pick a state you want, like absolute certainty. Then you access a really powerful memory of feeling that way. You amplify that feeling, make it huge, overwhelming, and then right at the absolute peak, you fire the anchor. You take a strong whiff of a unique scent. If you do this enough, that scent becomes a trigger to instantly snap you back into that peak state.
And that's the ultimate payoff. This is the real game changer. It's not just positive thinking. It's about building a reliable neurological trigger. It takes luck completely out of the equation. You no longer have to hope you feel confident before a big meeting. You have a tool to make yourself feel confident.
So, at the end of the day, the straight line isn't just a script. It's a mix of strategy, timing, and pure psychology. But as Belfort insists, it all begins and ends with your internal state. You've seen the blueprint. The only question left is, will you have the certainty to execute it?